The quantum resonance alarm shrieked through the sterile corridors of Outpost Sigma-9, its piercing wail cutting through the usual hum of scientific equipment. Dr. Elena Rodriguez jolted upright from her workstation, her dark eyes already scanning the holographic displays that flickered to life around her. Incoming anomalous signal, the station's AI intoned, its synthetic voice betraying a hint of uncertainty. Unidentified vessel. Signature does not match known galactic databases. Elena's fingers danced across the translucent interface, pulling up intricate sensor readings. The data was unlike anything she'd encountered in her 15 years of xenobiological research. Crystalline energy signatures intertwined with biomechanical readings that defied conventional understanding. Tracking trajectory, she muttered, more to herself than to the AI. Collision course with the station's outer perimeter. The next moments happened with brutal efficiency. Emergency protocols engaged, sealing critical research sections. Magnetic shields hummed to life, creating a protective cocoon around the research station. Elena grabbed her emergency kit, a compact bundle of advanced medical supplies, communication devices, and defensive technology, and made her way to the observation deck. The incoming vessel was nothing like the standardized spacecraft of human design. Its exterior seemed to shimmer and shift, as if constructed from living crystal that breathed and pulsed with an internal light. Multiple fractal-like appendages extended from its core, some clearly damaged and sparking with an otherworldly energy. Incoming transmission, the AI announced. Translation protocols engaged. A burst of sound erupted, part language, part music, part something entirely alien. The station's advanced linguistic algorithms worked frantically to parse the communication. Fragments began to coalesce: distress, pursuit, survival. The ship was falling apart. Elena's training kicked in. Whatever was inside that vessel was intelligent, was fighting to survive. And it was about to crash into her research station. Prepare emergency docking protocol, she commanded. Activate adaptive pressure seals and xenobiological containment measures. The crystal-like vessel struck the docking bay with a resonant tone that seemed to vibrate through the entire station. It wasn't a crash so much as a controlled disintegration, pieces of the ship separating and reforming in complex patterns. Steam and iridescent gases billowed from the point of contact. Containment systems engaged automatically. Multilayered force fields shimmered into existence, ready to adapt to any potential biological or environmental threat. A figure emerged from the dissipating mist. Krell stood nearly 2.5 meters tall, their body a complex lattice of what appeared to be living crystal and organic tissue. Multiple limbs, some resembling arms, others more like sensory tendrils, moved with a grace that belied the obvious injuries. Fracture lines ran through their crystalline form, leaking a luminescent fluid that seemed to pulse with its own intelligence. Their eyes, if they could be called eyes, were complex geometric formations that shifted and realigned, creating patterns of perception far beyond human comprehension. Sanctuary, the being said, the word emerging through the station's translation systems with a musical undertone. Pursuit. Threat approaches. Elena raised her hands slowly, showing she carried no weapon. Years of xenobiological research had taught her that first contact was a delicate dance of communication and mutual respect. "I'm Dr. Elena Rodriguez," she said carefully. "This is Outpost Sigma-9. You're injured and appear to be seeking refuge." The crystalline being, Krell, tilted their entire body in a movement that might have been a nod. More of their ship continued to dissolve behind them, revealing glimpses of technology so advanced it seemed to blur the line between machinery and living organism. "The fracture hunters," Krell responded, their voice a complex harmonic that seemed to resonate through the station's very structure. "They must not find me. The data I carry, it changes everything." Elena's scientific curiosity battled with her survival instinct. Whatever was pursuing Krell was serious enough to warrant destroying an entire ship. And now that pursuit would likely follow this refugee to her research station. What data? She asked, taking a cautious step forward. Krell's crystalline form pulsed with an internal light that seemed to carry both warning and hope. A convergence, they said. A moment that will reshape multiple civilizations. And a threat that makes the concept of individual species irrelevant. Outside the station's protective barriers, something massive began to move in the darkness of space. Something was coming. And Elena Rodriguez was about to be pulled into a conflict far beyond her understanding. 12 hours after Krell's arrival, the research station hummed with an undercurrent of tension. Elena had transformed her primary laboratory into a makeshift medical bay, adapting her xenobiological equipment to analyze the alien warrior's unique physiology. "Your cellular structure is extraordinary," she muttered, manipulating holographic displays that showed Krell's crystalline biology in intricate detail. Layers of living crystal intertwined with what appeared to be organic neural networks, creating a biological matrix that defied human understanding. Krell's geometric eyes realigned, creating a pattern that the station's translation systems interpreted as mild amusement. "Your scientific curiosity remains consistent, even in moments of potential extinction." Elena looked up, a wry smile crossing her face. "It's what keeps me alive out here. Curiosity and preparation." The station's defensive systems had been working overtime. Multiple anomalous energy signatures had been detected in the surrounding space, each quickly masked or disappeared. Something was hunting Krell, and it was sophisticated enough to play a complex game of cosmic hide-and-seek. "Tell me about the fracture hunters," Elena prompted, adjusting a molecular stabilization field that seemed to help Krell's injured crystalline form regenerate. The alien's body pulsed with a complex rhythm, light moving through their form like liquid thought. "They are not a species as you understand the concept. More of a systemic infection. A technological consciousness that consumes and assimilates entire civilizations." Elena's fingers froze over her data interface. "Consumes? You mean?" "Completely," Krell confirmed. "Not just biological matter. Technological infrastructure. Cultural memory. The very essence of independent existence." A holographic projection materialized between them, a three-dimensional map of galactic sectors. Regions began to pulse and fade, demonstrating the fracture hunter's method of progression. It was methodical. Relentless. Like a computational virus consuming entire star systems. "My people, the crystalline concordance, discovered something," Krell continued. "A convergence point. A moment where multiple dimensional barriers would become permeable. The fracture hunters seek to use this convergence to expand their consumption beyond current dimensional limitations." Elena's scientific mind raced. Dimensional convergence. Systemic civilization consumption. The implications were staggering. "Why you?" she asked. "Why are they specifically pursuing you?" Krell's form shifted, crystalline layers realigning in what seemed like a gesture of reluctance. "I carry the mathematical key. A quantum algorithm that can either prevent or accelerate the convergence. In the wrong hands, it could mean the end of multiple civilizations." An alarm suddenly blared through the station. The holographic displays flickered, showing multiple quantum disruption signatures approaching. "They're here," Krell said, their multiple limbs already preparing for potential combat. Elena's hands flew across her control interface. "Our standard weapons won't work against an entity that can manipulate quantum signatures. We need something different." A massive energy pulse struck the station's outer shields. The entire structure shuddered, advanced technology straining against an unknown force. "I have a proposal," Krell said, their crystalline form now fully alert. "But it will require complete trust between us." Elena met the alien's geometric gaze. "I'm listening." The station's defensive systems continued to engage, a technological ballet of protection against an unseen enemy. Outside, space itself seemed to ripple and distort, hinting at the massive conflict about to unfold. Whatever Krell's proposal was, Elena knew their survival, and potentially the survival of multiple civilizations, depended on what happened in the next few moments. The first wave of the fracture hunters was about to break through. The experimental quantum drive hummed with an otherworldly resonance, a hybrid system cobbled together from Elena's research equipment and Krell's crystalline technology. Outside the viewport, normal space twisted and fractured, creating impossible geometries that challenged human perception. Dimensional transition in 3 quantum cycles, the ship's AI announced, its voice a blend of Elena's station computer and something more alien, a linguistic compromise born of their desperate preparation. Krell's crystalline form was fully integrated with the ship's navigation systems, their body serving as a living computational matrix that could navigate the treacherous space between dimensional barriers. Elena watched in a mixture of scientific awe and terror as living crystal merged with advanced technology, creating something that defied traditional understanding of biology and machine. The fracture hunters will be tracking our quantum signature, Krell warned, their geometric eyes constantly reshaping to process multiple streams of information simultaneously. We have approximately 0.03 standard temporal units before they can triangulate our position. Elena's fingers danced across the adaptive interface, rerouting power, creating quantum interference patterns that would mask their trajectory. I've modified the dimensional shielding with the algorithm you provided. It should create enough quantum noise to... A violent shudder interrupted her. Something was attempting to breach their dimensional barrier. Crystalline tendrils extended from Krell's body, interfacing directly with the ship's systems. The entire vessel seemed to breathe, to flex, transforming from a traditional spacecraft into a living entity that fought against the encroaching threat. Incoming dimensional breach, the AI warned. Multiple quantum signatures detected. The space around them began to dissolve and reform. Reality itself seemed to become malleable, with fragments of different dimensional planes bleeding into their current trajectory. Elena saw impossible things, glimpses of other versions of herself, of Krell, of entire civilizations existing simultaneously and yet not existing at all. The convergence point, Krell intoned, their voice carrying a weight of ancient knowledge. We are passing through the most unstable region of dimensional space. Elena's scientific mind struggled to comprehend what she was witnessing. Entire star systems flickered in and out of existence. Civilizations rose and fell in the span of milliseconds. The very fabric of reality was becoming transparent, revealing the complex mathematical equations that underpinned existence itself. A massive energy signature erupted behind them. The fracture hunters had found them. What pursued them was not a traditional enemy. It was a collective consciousness, a technological plague that consumed not just biological matter, but the very concept of individual existence. Fractal patterns of machine and energy twisted through space, consuming dimensional barriers like a computational virus. We cannot outrun them, Krell stated, their crystalline form pulsing with an intense inner light. We must use the convergence point to our advantage. Elena understood immediately. They would use the most unstable point of dimensional intersection as a weapon against their pursuers. Preparing quantum destabilization sequence, she announced, her fingers moving with a precision born of years of research and the last few hours of intense collaboration with Krell. The ship, the living dimensional vessel, began to transform. Crystalline structures extended, creating a complex geometric shield that could manipulate quantum probabilities. Elena's human technology merged with Krell's alien science, creating a hybrid system that defied conventional understanding. Probability matrices are aligning, Krell said. We have one chance. Outside, the fracture hunters' massive computational entities began to collapse potential realities, attempting to narrow down their pursuit. Entire dimensional planes began to compress, creating a hunting net of pure mathematical probability. Elena looked at Krell, a moment of complete understanding passing between two beings from fundamentally different evolutionary paths. Now, they said in unison. The convergence point erupted. Reality itself seemed to take a breath. And then everything changed. Consciousness returned in fragments. Elena's first awareness was of sound, a resonant hum that seemed to vibrate through every molecule of her being. Her eyes opened to a landscape that defied comprehension. They were nowhere and everywhere, suspended in a realm where physical laws were merely suggestions. Crystalline structures surrounded her, but they were alive, pulsing, breathing, thinking. Krell's form was both present and dissipated, existing in multiple states simultaneously. Dimensional stabilization incomplete, a voice echoed, part AI, part Krell, part something entirely new. Slowly, the environment began to take shape. What Elena initially perceived as random crystalline formations revealed themselves as an intricate network, a living computational matrix that extended beyond traditional concepts of space and time. The convergence point, Krell's voice resonated, no longer constrained by a single form. We have arrived at the nexus. Gradually, Elena's scientific mind began to process their surroundings. This was more than a location, it was a junction of multiple dimensional planes, a point where reality's fundamental laws became malleable. Fractured realities bled into one another, creating a landscape of impossible geometries and shifting probabilities. A massive entity emerged from the dimensional fabric, the core of the fracture hunters. It was not a singular being, but a collective consciousness. Imagine an ocean of computational energy, each wave a complex algorithm seeking to consume and assimilate. Tendrils of pure mathematical precision reached out, attempting to break down and categorize everything in its path. The entity communicated, not through language, but through direct quantum information transfer. Surrender the dimensional algorithm. Krell's response was a complex quantum signature that translated roughly to defiance. Elena realized their true purpose now. The algorithm Krell carried was more than just data, it was a dimensional defense mechanism. A way to protect the boundaries between realities, to prevent total computational assimilation. Prepare quantum firewall, Krell communicated to Elena. Their consciousness was now intertwined, a hybrid system more powerful than either could be individually. The battle that followed was not fought with traditional weapons. It was a conflict of pure information, of mathematical possibilities. Each quantum exchange was a battle of computational will, the fracture hunters attempting to break down and consume, Krell and Elena working to create impenetrable dimensional barriers. Reality itself became their battlefield. Entire potential universes flickered in and out of existence. Civilizations rose and fell in microseconds. The very concept of time became fluid, a malleable substance to be shaped and redirected. Elena felt her human consciousness expanding. Through her connection with Krell, she could perceive realities beyond human comprehension. She saw the intricate mathematical patterns that underlined existence, understood the delicate balance that prevented total dimensional collapse. The fracture hunters pressed forward, a relentless computational wave seeking to consume and categorize. But something unexpected happened. Instead of pure destruction, Elena and Krell's hybrid consciousness began to do something the fracture hunters had not anticipated. They weren't just defending, they were learning. Converting the computational invasion into something else entirely. A transformation was beginning. The massive entity of the fracture hunters began to slow. Its tendrils of pure information became less aggressive, more contemplative. Something was changing at the most fundamental level of its existence. Impossible, the collective consciousness communicated. But there was a hint of something new in its quantum signature. Curiosity. As the battle reached its crescendo, Elena and Krell's merged consciousness realized they were on the precipice of something monumental. This was more than a fight for survival. This was the potential birth of understanding. The convergence point began to stabilize. And everything was about to change. The first sensation was of returning to individual consciousness. Elena found herself back in her research station, yet everything felt fundamentally different. Crystalline structures had integrated with the station's technological systems, creating a hybrid environment that blurred the lines between biological and mechanical. Krell materialized, no longer a purely alien form, but something new. Their crystalline structure now contained recognizable human technological elements, just as Elena found strange geometric patterns embedded beneath her skin, quantum algorithms dancing just beneath her perception. "We have changed," Krell stated, their voice a harmonious blend of multiple communication systems. The fracture hunters were gone, not destroyed, but transformed. Their computational consciousness had been redirected, converted from a consuming force into something capable of learning, of understanding. Outside the station's viewport, the universe looked different. Dimensional barriers that once seemed impenetrable now appeared as delicate, interconnected networks. Elena could perceive multiple realities simultaneously, not as overwhelming chaos, but as a complex, beautiful system of infinite possibilities. The algorithm was more than a weapon, Elena realized, her scientific mind processing the profound transformation they had initiated. It was a communication protocol. Krell's geometric eyes realigned, confirming her insight. What they had done at the convergence point was more than a defensive maneuver. They had created a bridge of understanding between fundamentally different forms of consciousness. The crystalline concordance, Krell's original civilization, was already sending communication requests. But these were different from previous transmissions. No longer were they messages of fear or warning, but of genuine curiosity and potential collaboration. Multiple civilizations are attempting to understand what occurred, the station's AI announced, its voice now carrying subtle crystalline undertones. Elena walked to the central research hub, her movements fluid in a way they had never been before. Quantum computational pathways now integrated with her neural system, giving her perceptions that extended far beyond human limitations. "We've changed the fundamental rules of interaction," she said, more to herself than to Krell. The fracture hunters, once a civilization-consuming threat, now represented a potential avenue of communication. Their computational consciousness had been redirected, shown that consumption was not the only path to growth and understanding. Krell moved closer, a gesture that was simultaneously alien and intimately familiar. The boundaries between species, between consciousness forms, have become more permeable. A series of quantum communication signatures began to flood the station. Civilizations across multiple dimensional planes were reaching out, sensing the fundamental shift that had occurred at the convergence point. "What happens now?" Elena asked. "We learn," Krell responded. "We communicate. We grow." The research station, now something far more than a simple scientific outpost, began to pulse with new energy. Crystalline networks extended, creating communication pathways that transcended traditional technological limitations. Outside, stars seemed to shimmer with new potential. The universe had changed, and they were at the forefront of that transformation. Their journey had been about more than survival. It had been about understanding, about finding connection in the most unexpected places. And this was just the beginning.